This time we have an AKAI GX630. This is a 4-channel, a quad machine, but it has simulsync. So it can be used in a small recording studio for recording 1 track at a time. 4-track, it'll set 7 and 10-inch reels, and 1 channel's not working. So let's take a look at this one and see if we can get this beast back in operation. Okay, this time I have a GX630D SS. This is a 4-track, so it can operate in 2-channel or 4-channel mode, and it also has what they call a Gardra sync selector. So what that allows you to do, musicians would have used something like this, although I don't know that they would have used an AKAI because this only supports tape speeds up to 7.5, and you really want something like that TAC that I have that supports 15 IPS. But it works on the same principle. In the Gardra sync mode, it will play back using the record head so that you can monitor what you're doing and record in sync. That way, if you're playing different instruments, you're hearing the playback through the record head, and that way you can lay down another track in sync. And basically you could record 1 track, rewind the tape, record track number 2 while playing track 1. Then you could go back and record track 3 while playing track 1 and 2, and go back and record track 4 while playing the other 3. And when you played the tape back, you could then mix the 4 different instruments together. Or do what the Beatles would do, is they would record a couple tracks. They would record 3 tracks. This is back when they only had 4 tracks to work with. They would record 3 tracks and then mix those tracks down to track number 4, and then they could go back and listen to track 4 and record another track for track 5, record another track for track 6, mix the 2 of them down to track 3, and then listen to track 3 playing back and record another track, right, and add and build. So even though you've only got 4 tracks, you can build stuff together. Obviously the tracks that you're mixing are going to be mixed into mono, and then you would do your maybe your bass drum and a snare drum and bass guitar and stuff, and the stuff that was going to be put on one in the center track or the center channel anyway, and then you would add your other stuff after. The complaint on this is that one of the tracks is not working, which I can see here. I can see stuff on 2, 3, and 4, but nothing on number 1. I'm just going to turn this down so that I don't, even though this music probably won't get me hit with anything, but I see nothing on track number 1. I'm betting it's going to be a switch problem. Okay, so let's just try the tape monitor switch and see whether we get lucky. Is it the tape monitor switch? Chances are it is. I got lucky for a change. It looks like the tape monitor switch is bad. Probably the rest of these switches are probably also bad, so I think this one's just going to need a cleaning of controls. So this should be a pretty straightforward unit to work on. Everything else apparently works on this. So let's pull this one apart and clean the controls. It's certainly not going to be a fun one like the last one where I had that servo problem. Although this unit here would use probably exactly the same servo circuit. This one's got a pitch control, but it's going to work the same way. Anyway, I'm going to rewind the tape, get the tape off of this thing. We'll get these controls cleaned, and chances are this machine will be good to go. Check out the sticker here. Maybe my camera won't focus. Cabinet made of wood product covered with a durable wood-grained vinyl material. Like, why don't you just put real wood on it? It's vinyl veneer garbage. Something that Radio Shack used to do. You guys want to get a look at the head block on this? This one just flips up out of the way, so you can access the 4-track head. It actually has 2 separate erase heads, and a 4-track record, and a 4-track play head. If we get a close-up of the heads, here they are. So you got a track, what is it, 1 and 3 erase head, and a track 2 and 4 erase head. This is the 4-track head. It's clean too, and that's also a 4-track head. And of course this one uses the glass heads like all the AKAIs did, which were great for as far as longevity. They were great. They very rarely wore out because glass is very tough. I say the downside with these heads was dealing with the tapes that suffered the sticky shed syndrome, whereas you didn't have that same problem with conventional heads. But they also weren't super high performing as far as sound quality went. They lasted because they were hard, but they were still just a ferrite head. To take this thing apart, there are 4 screws on the bottom and I think 4 in the back. So let's get the screws out. We'll get the unit out of its cabinet. I stand corrected, there's 6 in the back. There's these 2 plus the screws that are in behind the feet. I think these ones have them in behind the feet. Find out pretty quick. Yeah, so these ones got metal screws in behind the feet. So the 4 feet plus these 2 screws. So once the screws are removed, the chassis will just push out. You just push it through from the back. And I gotta make sure that this one doesn't have boards on the front that are gonna get damaged, so I'm just gonna tip it forward so I can release the back, and that way I can take a look and see whether the base is flat on this or whether it's not. Yeah, the base is flat on this one, so I can set it down. Some of them, as I explained before, some of them the boards actually stick out the bottom, and if you try to do that, you will actually be sitting it on the board, but this one's got a metal back, so we're good. Like the other one, this one's a direct drive capstan motor, just like the other one, which is nice. 2 direct drive motors for the reels, nice design. Common problem on these ones is these edge connectors that they need to be cleaned. These are what connects the heads and so forth to the unit. These do need to be cleaned, so we're going to wipe those down with some deoxit or spray them with some Nutrol and reseat them just so that they don't have future problems. So we'll just spray this with Nutrol and reseat them. Same with this one over here. Spray this one down. Okay, it's the same type of servo board as the other one. In fact, it looks identical to the other one. The transistor's right up here. That's the one that shorted on the other. That's the servo motor speed. That's the output. This is the servo board here. So identical to the other one. You can use this the same remote control if you had the wired remote. This one's got the 50-60 hertz switch. So on this one, both of it's a dual capacitor that they use for the motor. So here it is in the top here. This is the AC capacitor. On this one, they're using both of them. They're using the 3.5 and the 1.5. At 60 hertz, it uses 3.5. And at 50 hertz, by flipping the switch, it adds the 1.5, which brings the total capacity up to 5 microfarads. That's just because at the lower 50 hertz frequency, it changes the resonance of the capacitor just to delay. So the larger the capacitor, the bigger the delay. So that's why when you're putting a motor run capacitor, and it's important to use the same size, you wouldn't go from, say, a 3.5 to a 5, because you're going to be creating, at 60 hertz, you're going to be creating a larger than 90-degree phase shift, and that is going to cause you problems with the motor as far as the motor running properly. It'll probably slow down. It may even go a bit faster, but it'll certainly affect the speed and the torque of the motor. So it's important when you change the run capacitor, when you have to change one, that you get one that's the same size as the original that was in there. Okay, let's, I gotta take this thing apart a little bit more. I gotta take the face off this thing, I think, to get at the controls, to clean them. Should be able to remove this front piece, pull off all the knobs, first of all. Try not to break them in the process, because sometimes these plastic inserts come out on these knobs, and then you gotta glue them. Certainly wouldn't be the first one that's happened to. Two screwdrivers, one on each side. We'll take them off. But be careful that you don't scratch the front, so I'm pushing them underneath as far as I can, so that any scratches that happen are going to be where you don't see it. Okay, so those ones are out. I got to take these ones out. They've got a small Allen key. Hopefully it's not 2.5, because that one fell down and it's on the floor somewhere and I haven't got to it yet. But these are going to be metric. They're 1.5 inch or 1.5 millimeters inch. Yeah, right. 1.5 inch Allen keys. Yeah, right. Maybe on a locomotive. 1.5 millimeters. These ones should be, I think these other ones are, I think they're 3. They're either 3 or 4. So the other ones here. Let's see if I get it right. 3? Is it 3? 3 millimeters or is it 4? 3 millimeters. Okay, so we're going to take out these 6 hex keys, and that should lift the front off of the unit. And then I should be able to access the controls and switches from here. It's going to be quite a warm day today. Even with the fan running in here, it's getting warm. Get this thing done, and then I'm taking my bike out. Our summer is returning to us here. Cooled down for a couple days, which was actually kind of nice for working in the shop. Nothing is worse than working when it's like, 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 95 degrees or however hot it was. It gets pretty warm in here. Right now it's 25. I'm looking at my digital thermometer. 25 Celsius, so that's about 80. But there's been days like over this past couple of weeks when we've had a hot day where it's been like 31 in here. And that's hot. Okay, now this should just lift off unless I've missed something else. Is there more screws up here? Or do I have to take that? It should just lift off, I think. Or do I have to take this? I may have to take this head block or the cover. I think I got to take this cover off. I think it's just 2 screws that hold this on, and then this cover should lift off, and then the front lower cabinet should come off. Now this should lift off. With that out of the way, I should be able to lift the front off. Take off this side plate here. I should be able to access that control easier. The bottom controls are accessible from the bottom. I was just hoping that I was going to be able to access everything from the front. But this one's got a cover plate on there, so a few screws later and that cover comes off, and now I can get into this switch, which is right in the front here. Now I know why I took the front off it, because it looks like I can get into the switch. It's sealed at the back, but I can get into it easier right from the top here. Right from in behind here, I can get direct access into the switch mechanism right through there. There. That should clean up that switch nicely. The good old Simulsync or Simulsync switches, as TIAC would call it, are right here. There's a hole in them up the front here, so I can get some cleaner and get it through the switch here. Do the same for the other 3. And then I'm going to put this thing together and test it and keep my fingers crossed that that's all that's wrong with it. actually make some money on this repair, because I certainly didn't make any money on the last one. Doesn't matter how much I charge, I didn't make any money on it. So you guys gotta watch the video and all the commercials so that I can eat for the rest of the month. I'll also clean the tape type selector switch here, which is right in the front here. I'm not going to bother with these other ones because they are more just big power toggle switches. You can see them. Those are just main type toggle switches. They're not going to cause a problem. So I'm not going to do those ones. Okay, next is to put the face back on. It's easier to do this with the unit lying on its back, as you have to get the meters lined up. So we just take the top on like that. And then we just have to kind of push the meters around to get the meters in their right position, and then the top will drop into place. There we go. Once all the meters are in place, the top will be flush, and then we can put the screws back in to hold it in place. There. Next comes the head guard. Finally, the knobs. Not to forget the nut that goes on the output level controls. And of course these ones are held on by a 1.5 millimeter hex key. So we'll set the control to 0. I'm going to use my tape. This is a 4-track tape recorded on my TAC. Tracks 1 and 3 are recorded at 7.5, and tracks 2 and 4 are 15. So I can switch it to tracks 2 and 4, the back, and we'll hear it playing at half its normal speed because this doesn't have 15 IPS. So not a real tape recorder. In my opinion, any 4-track machine that was ever made should have the ability to play 15 IPS. Some of them actually had an adapter you could put on the capstan, but this one doesn't look like that's the case. Okay, in tape mode, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, yeah, it might help if I put it around the tape take up, and oh, I got this thing, I got a twist in this tape. Oh, that won't work, now will it? It'll be like that episode that I was watching of, I think it was, I don't know, was it Forensic Files or one of those shows where they were showing a confession tape. One of these detective shows, right? Real life detective shows. I don't remember whether it was Forensic Files or one of those anyway. They were showing a transcript that they had taken off of a wire. And I don't know how this slipped through, but supposedly the tape playing back on the left side on the take-up, you see a twist. That's not going to work, but that's what it had. So I was wondering what happened there. My stereo went into protect mode because the speaker leads were shorted.
White tee-blue jeans looking at me beckoning. Get myself together.
In 2-channel mode, of course, it turns off the other two.
Every other day.
If you're just playing a stereo tape, you'd flip it over to play the other side. But this is a, I don't want to play that track just because that was, it was a royalty-free track from Triple Scoop Music, but the bastards at Triple Scoop Music changed their policy. It comes with Pinnacle Video Studio. It's royalty-free, and it says, yeah, you can use this on all your productions, except you can't post them to YouTube or we will monetize it. Those bastards. That's not royalty-free music, guys. Okay, royalty-free music is royalty-free music that you can use, like from the YouTube Music Studio or Music Bakery when you purchase it. Not music that, yeah, you can use this on all your productions, but just don't share it on social media. So, I won't let that play. We'll just fast forward past that to play some stuff. Oh, that song's still playing. I'm not sure about that one. That might have been Triple Scoop Music too. I just recorded stuff off my MP3 player and I had Triple Scoop and Music Bakery music on there, so that's Music Bakery. I can let this one play. I'll turn this thing around and we'll plug in the outputs to the other two tracks. We'll put it in 4-channel mode so we can hear the other two tracks playing, and of course they'll be playing at half speed, so I'll double it. That's what I'll do. So I'll just start the camera up as a new track, and then we'll double this so you guys can hear it, because it's going to play at half speed. Unfortunately, this tape that I'm using is actually one that's suffering from sticky shed syndrome, because it's actually crumbling off onto this roller here, onto the guide. So, yeah, these are hard. I got to clean the heads on this thing now, because just playing the tape for that short period of time has taken enough oxide off this tape to contaminate the heads, contaminate this tension arm. We're going to try another tape on it. I'm going to do a recording. I'm going to clean the heads and do a recording, and then we'll get this one back together. And you can see what I mean by, look at how worn that tape is, eh? This tape is head. It's an old tape. It's a really, really old tape, which is an old tape that I found, and I figured I would just try it out, my 4-track, and record some stuff on it. So, yeah, that is from the edge of this. Picking up, it's like a bloody knife, sharp. Anyway, that's that tape. So you're wondering why the tape's falling apart. Well, the tape itself is falling apart, and the fact that I played it on a glass head machine didn't help it. So I'm gonna clean it. We'll do a recording, and then get this one back together. Okay, I got a tape queued up. We'll just hit record and play. And just record something on here. So that's the source. We can go to the tape and hear it already playing back. So that's what type of quality we're going to get. Sounds pretty darn good to me. Both channels working. I'm only recording in 2-channel mode. If you notice here, just the track 1 and 2 lights are lit. There's LEDs here to tell you which tracks you're recording. So I'm basically recording on track 1 and track 3. That should be enough. We already know it's going to record fine. And here's playback. Okay, that about does it for this one. You guys don't need to see me putting this thing back together, but it goes back together just exactly the opposite way it came apart. Bunch of screws in the back and 4 on the bottom. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.